The massive holographic transmission flickered across every screen on Earth, casting an eerie blue light in conference rooms, living spaces, and public squares. The alien representative, a towering crystalline being with multiple translucent limbs, spoke with a voice that seemed to vibrate through metal and bone. J. Park sat motionless, his hands clasped tightly on the polished conference table. Around him, world leaders from every continent watched in stunned silence. The Galactic Empire's demand was brutally simple: complete planetary submission or total annihilation. "Humans of Earth," the alien translator repeated, "your planet has been catalogued. Your resources are required. You will surrender 50% of your planetary minerals, 30% of your biological populations for labor, and full technological compliance to the Zorn Imperial Protocol." The room remained silent. Outside the United Nations headquarters in New York, crowds had already begun to gather. News networks buzzed with live translations, panic spreading like wildfire across global communication networks. Jay understood the implications immediately. This wasn't a negotiation. This was an ultimatum designed to crush human resistance before it could even begin. The Zorn Empire had conquered thousands of civilizations across multiple star systems. Their technological superiority was legendary, their military might unquestioned. A young analyst named Min broke the silence. "They expect us to simply comply?" Jay's eyes narrowed. The alien representative continued its emotionless presentation, displaying holographic charts showing Earth's resource potential. Entire continents were reduced to numerical values. Populations became statistical entries. Humanity was nothing more than a potential resource to be harvested. "We have 3 standard galactic cycles to respond," the alien said. Each galactic cycle equated to approximately 72 Earth hours. 3 days to decide the fate of an entire species. The Global Emergency Council began discussing potential responses. Military leaders argued for resistance. Diplomatic teams suggested negotiation. Economists calculated the potential economic impact of total surrender. Jay knew better. He had spent years studying alien encounter protocols. The Zorn didn't negotiate. They conquered. Outside the conference room, the world was changing. Social media exploded with reactions. Some people panicked. Others prepared. Military installations worldwide went into high alert. Scientific research centers began emergency protocols. The alien transmission continued, displaying images of previous conquered civilizations. Entire planetary ecosystems stripped bare. Populations relocated. Technologies absorbed and repurposed. It was a clinical, terrifying display of imperial might. Jay noticed something most others missed. A subtle pattern in the holographic data. The Zorn were methodical, but not infallible. Their conquest strategy followed predictable mathematical models. And within those models, there might be a weakness. "We need options," he muttered, his mind already racing through potential strategies. The Global Emergency Council looked to him. As the lead strategic coordinator for first contact scenarios, his recommendation would carry significant weight. The fate of billions rested on the next few hours of discussion. The alien representative remained suspended in the holographic display, waiting. Its multiple crystalline eyes seemed to scan every human in the room, measuring, analyzing, preparing for whatever response would come. J. Park took a deep breath. Humanity had faced extinction-level threats before. They had survived ice ages, global conflicts, environmental challenges. This would be another test of human adaptability and resilience. The transmission continued, a constant reminder of the immense threat hovering just beyond Earth's atmosphere. 3 days. 72 hours to determine whether humanity would become another footnote in the Zorn Empire's vast historical archives or find a way to survive. In conference rooms, military bases, research centers, and homes across the planet, people watched and waited. The greatest challenge in human history had just begun. Within hours of the alien transmission, the world transformed. Research laboratories that once competed now worked in perfect synchronization. Kim stood at the center of a massive underground facility, watching holographic designs of massive interstellar ships materialize and shift. Global resources redirected. Factories that once produced consumer electronics now manufactured complex spacecraft components. Automobile plants converted to generating massive engine systems. Every industrial capacity focused on a single goal: creating humanity's escape fleet. "We have approximately 72 hours, he told her team of engineers and scientists. "Traditional rocket technology won't work. We need something revolutionary." Quantum propulsion theories, once considered pure academic speculation, became practical blueprints. Advanced fusion reactor designs, previously shelved due to economic constraints, now received unlimited funding. Universities worldwide suspended normal operations, with professors and students working around the clock. Governments implemented unprecedented global draft protocols. Not for military service, but for specialized skills. Engineers, technologists, agricultural experts, medical professionals, every person with critical knowledge became part of the migration plan. Genetic screening centers opened in major cities. Candidates were selected based on diverse skill sets, genetic health, and potential contribution to a mobile civilization. Families were evaluated not just on individual capabilities, but collective survival potential. Agricultural scientists developed compact, high-yield crop systems that could function in controlled environments. Biological engineers created seed banks and genetic preservation protocols. Every living organism became a potential resource for survival. Communication networks transformed. Satellite systems were rapidly upgraded. Global internet infrastructure prepared for potential long-distance quantum communication technologies. Information became the most critical resource. In remote research facilities, experimental technologies previously considered impossible now received immediate implementation. Radiation shielding techniques, advanced hydroponics, closed ecological systems, everything was fast-tracked. Military installations worldwide shifted from defensive postures to logistical support. Naval shipyards began constructing massive generational ships. Aircraft manufacturers designed modular living units that could connect and form larger habitation complexes. He watched as her team developed revolutionary propulsion systems. Traditional chemical rockets would be useless against the Zorn Empire's technological capabilities. They needed something unprecedented. Quantum entanglement drive, one young engineer suggested. Others quickly began developing mathematical models, transforming theoretical concepts into practical engineering solutions. Governments implemented emergency resource allocation protocols. Precious metals, rare earth elements, and advanced technological components were gathered from every possible source. Museums, private collections, industrial stockpiles, nothing was left unused. Space agencies from different countries, which once competed, now shared every piece of scientific knowledge. NASA, European Space Agency, Chinese National Space Administration. All barriers dissolved in the face of species-level survival. Population centers began organized relocation processes. Cities near critical manufacturing zones were rapidly evacuated. Infrastructure was prepared for massive, coordinated migration. Every movement was calculated, every resource measured. Medical facilities worldwide prepared massive gene banks and biological preservation systems. Not just human genetic material, but samples from thousands of plant and animal species. The goal was preservation of Earth's entire biological legacy. Spacecraft design teams worked on modular concepts. Ships that could connect, separate, reconfigure. Living spaces that could adapt to changing environmental conditions. Each vessel needed to be both a home and a potential survival unit. He understood the psychological challenge was as significant as the technological one. How do you prepare billions of people for a journey into complete unknown? How do you maintain hope when facing potential extinction? Communication became critical. Global broadcasts explained survival strategies. Educational programs taught basic spacecraft maintenance, agricultural techniques, and emergency protocols. Every person needed to become a potential survivor. As hours passed, the impossible became possible. Humanity's most brilliant minds transformed theoretical concepts into practical solutions. They were no longer just preparing to escape. They were redesigning the very concept of human civilization. The countdown continued. 72 hours to create humanity's survival strategy. The greatest migration in human history was about to begin. The first ships launched silently, massive structures rising from carefully prepared launch sites across the planet. Wu Li stood on the central command bridge, watching multiple screens tracking the initial fleet movements. Thousands of generational ships, each carrying between 50,000 to 100,000 humans, began their unprecedented exodus. Earth looked different now. Massive launch platforms dotted every continent. Where cities once stood, now complex spacecraft preparation zones hummed with technological precision. The planet itself seemed to be exhaling its population into the vast darkness of space. First wave launching, a young communication officer reported. Her voice was steady, but her hands slightly trembled. Orbital tracking systems showed the first wave of ships moving in complex, interconnected patterns. They weren't just escaping, they were strategically positioning themselves. Each ship contained not just people, but entire technological ecosystems. Agricultural zones, medical facilities, research centers, living quarters, complete miniature worlds designed to survive generations of space travel. The Zorn Empire's initial response was confusion. Their initial scanning systems couldn't comprehend the scale of human migration. Tracking millions of humans simultaneously departing their home planet was beyond their predictive models. Wu Li watched the holographic displays, tracking each ship's trajectory. They weren't moving like traditional refugee vessels. These ships moved with calculated precision, using experimental quantum navigation systems that could potentially confuse enemy tracking. Multiple quantum signature disruptions initiated, another officer reported. The ships were using advanced technologies to create false movement signatures, making their actual destination impossible to predict. Ground control centers across multiple continents worked in perfect synchronization. Every ship had multiple backup communication systems, redundant life support, and adaptive technological capabilities. If one system failed, others would immediately compensate. The first wave carried humanity's most critical resources. Genetic banks, technological archives, specialized professional clusters. Each ship was designed as a potential seed for rebuilding human civilization. They weren't just escaping. They were preserving human potential. Zorn reconnaissance ships began appearing at the solar system's edges. Their massive crystalline structures looked alien and threatening. But instead of finding a submissive population, they discovered an elaborate, coordinated exodus. They're launching pursuit vectors, a tactical officer warned. Massive energy signatures indicated the Zorn were preparing interstellar tracking and potential interdiction systems. Wu understood the psychological warfare happening. The Zorn expected resistance or surrender. Humanity's response was something entirely unexpected: total migration. No planets to conquer. No populations to subjugate. Just millions of humans vanishing into the cosmic darkness. Each ship carried multiple propulsion systems. Experimental quantum drives allowed for potential faster-than-light movements. Traditional fusion reactors provided consistent power. Solar collection systems and advanced recycling technologies ensured long-term survival. Communication between ships happened through encrypted quantum channels. If one ship was compromised, others could immediately adjust their trajectories. It was a living, breathing network of human survival. Agricultural zones within ships used advanced hydroponics and controlled environment technologies. Entire ecosystems were compressed into carefully designed spaces. Genetic diversity preservation teams ensured multiple backup systems for plant and animal species. The first pursuit wave from the Zorn Empire arrived approximately 12 hours after the initial human launch. By then, human ships had already dispersed across multiple potential trajectory vectors. Their movement patterns were deliberately chaotic, making traditional tracking impossible.
Quantum disruption protocols activated, Wu commanded. Ships began implementing complex movement algorithms that would make their actual destination mathematically unpredictable. Humanity wasn't just fleeing.
They were transforming the very concept of survival. Each ship was a potential new civilization, carrying the collective knowledge, genetic potential, and technological capabilities of an entire species. As the last ships left Earth's orbit, something profound happened. The planet itself seemed to release a collective breath. Millions of years of human history, compressed into thousands of moving vessels, heading toward an unknown future. The Great Exodus had begun. Una Choi watched the ship's environmental systems with intense concentration. 2 years had passed since humanity's exodus, and every moment was a delicate balance between survival and potential destruction. The generational ship, designated HES 437, housed nearly 75,000 humans in a complex, self-sustaining ecosystem. Massive hydroponics zones created oxygen and food. Recycling systems processed every possible resource. Nothing was wasted. Zorn pursuit vessels appeared intermittently, massive crystalline structures that seemed to slice through space like frozen lightning. But human ships had developed unexpected survival strategies. They moved in fluid, unpredictable patterns, using quantum communication technologies that confused enemy tracking systems. Quantum disruption sequence activated, a young navigation officer reported. The ship's entire energy signature would suddenly shift, making their actual location mathematically impossible to determine. Life inside the ship followed strict but adaptable protocols. Children were educated in multiple disciplines. Every person learned multiple skills. A maintenance technician might also be trained in medical support, agricultural management, and basic spacecraft engineering. Genetic diversity teams worked constantly. Careful reproduction protocols ensured multiple backup genetic lines. Each generation was meticulously planned, combining genetic potential with specific skill requirements for long-term survival. Unexpected challenges emerged constantly. A small radiation leak in one section required immediate creative solutions. Instead of traditional repair methods, the ship's inhabitants developed a completely new approach, using advanced nanorepair technologies developed during the initial escape preparation. Communication between ships happened through encrypted quantum channels. If one ship encountered a significant threat, others could immediately adjust their collective survival strategies. It was a living, breathing network of human potential. Zorn pursuit vessels became less frequent. Their initial tracking systems proved ineffective against human migration patterns. What they expected to be a simple resource harvest had transformed into a complex, adaptive survival strategy. Agricultural zones within the ship used technologies that combined genetic engineering with advanced ecological management. Entire ecosystems were compressed into carefully designed spaces. Crops could grow in controlled environments, providing nutrition and oxygen simultaneously. Potential star system identification, the ship's primary scanner operator announced. Multiple ships had been tracking potential habitable zones, collecting astronomical data that could provide future settlement opportunities. Survival was more than just avoiding the Zorn Empire. It was about preserving human potential. Each ship carried not just people, but entire archives of human knowledge. Scientific records, artistic achievements, cultural histories, compressed into advanced data storage systems that could survive generations of space travel. Medical facilities used advanced regenerative technologies. Minor injuries could be quickly addressed. Genetic screening happened continuously, ensuring the health of future generations. Medical professionals were trained in multiple disciplines, understanding that adaptability was key to long-term survival. The ship's social structure was constantly evolving. Traditional hierarchies dissolved. Leadership was based on immediate skill requirements and collective decision-making. A person might lead a critical mission one day and be a support technician the next. Energy systems combined multiple technologies. Quantum fusion reactors provided primary power. Solar collection systems offered backup capabilities. Experimental dark matter extraction technologies were continuously researched, offering potential future energy solutions.
Psychological support was as critical as physical survival.
Virtual reality systems allowed people to experience diverse environments. Educational programs kept minds active and engaged.
Creative expression was encouraged as a critical survival mechanism.
Communication with other ships happened through carefully encrypted channels. Each vessel shared critical survival information, technological developments, and potential navigation strategies.
It was a collective survival network that spanned thousands of ships.
As another Zorn tracking vessel appeared in the distant sensor range, the ship's inhabitants remained calm. They had transformed from a planetary species to a mobile civilization.
Survival was no longer about a specific location, but about collective adaptability. Yuna Choi smiled slightly. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were redefining the very concept of civilization.
The journey continued.
Sung Kwan stood on the primary observation deck, watching as multiple generational ships approached a promising star system.
12 years had passed since humanity's exodus from Earth, and everything had changed. The first potential habitable planet emerged on the massive holographic display.
Atmospheric composition showed remarkable similarities to Earth.
Preliminary scans indicated liquid water, complex organic compounds, and stable environmental conditions. Initial planetary assessment complete, the ship's primary scanner operator announced.
Decades of advanced preparation were about to be tested. Humanity would not simply land and colonize. They would integrate carefully, methodically. Quantum communication networks buzzed with excitement.
Thousands of ships had been tracking potential settlement zones. Each vessel carried not just people, but entire technological archives, genetic repositories, and survival strategies developed during their incredible journey. The Zorn Empire had become a distant memory. Their pursuit had gradually diminished. Humanity's unexpected migration strategy had completely disrupted their traditional conquest models.
What was meant to be a simple resource harvest had transformed into the most complex migration in galactic history.
Specialized landing teams prepared their equipment. These weren't traditional explorers, but carefully selected genetic and technological specialists. Each person carried multiple skill sets. A geological researcher might also be trained in advanced agricultural technologies, medical support, and ecological management. Sung watched the preparation with a sense of cautious optimism.
Humanity had transformed during their journey.
They were no longer a planetary species confined to a single world. They had become something entirely new, a mobile, adaptive civilization.
Genetic diversity teams had ensured the survival of multiple human population lines.
Children born during the journey had been educated in comprehensive survival technologies.
Traditional educational models had been replaced by immersive, multidisciplinary learning systems.
The first landing pods began their careful descent.
Unlike traditional colonization methods, these teams would first establish comprehensive environmental analysis stations.
Every interaction with the new planet would be carefully measured and documented. Communication between ships happened through advanced quantum networks. Thousands of vessels shared real-time information about potential settlement zones. It was a collective intelligence far beyond anything previously conceived by human or alien civilizations.
Medical technologies had advanced dramatically. Regenerative systems could address most physiological challenges. Genetic screening happened continuously, ensuring the health of future generations.
The human body itself had been reimagined as an adaptable, programmable system.
Agricultural technologies developed during the journey would now be tested. Compact, highly efficient ecosystem creation systems could transform barren landscapes into productive zones within months. Each landing team carried entire biological repositories that could restart complex ecological systems. The new planet wasn't just a destination.
It was a potential new beginning for human civilization. But they would not repeat previous planetary mistakes. Every technological and social system had been carefully redesigned during their journey. Sung remembered the stories told by previous generations. Earth, their original home, had become a distant memory. Humanity had transformed from a planetary species to a mobile, adaptive civilization.
Survival was no longer about a specific location, but about collective potential.
Initial planetary scans showed no signs of intelligent life.
But the landing teams were prepared for any possibility.
Years of preparation had created a civilization that could adapt to virtually any environmental challenge.
Primary landing sequence initiated, the ship's communication officer reported.
Hundreds of specialized pods began their carefully calculated descent. Each carried not just humans, but entire technological ecosystems designed to create sustainable living environments.
The first images from the planetary surface began streaming back. Complex terrain, multiple ecological zones, stable atmospheric conditions.
It was more than just a potential home.
It was a new chapter in human existence. Sun understood that this moment represented more than just planetary settlement.
It was the culmination of humanity's most incredible journey. They had transformed from a species facing potential extinction to a civilization capable of redefining survival itself.
As the first landing teams touched down, a new story was about to begin. Humanity had arrived.